time, page 245, and we're now back on the record.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cavanaugh. My name is Yin Kaniyemi. I am an attorney for Fairmont Partners. We're representing the Authors Guild in this litigation, and also several individuals whose grants were canceled in April. So Mr. Robinson started this morning by asking you a number of questions about whether you've been deposed before, for instance, and you said no. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you remember the reporter put you under oath this morning?
Yes.
Okay. And that oath was to tell the truth during this deposition?
Yes.
Okay. Have you told the truth?
Yes.
And you understand that oath has the same force and effect as if it were given in an actual court of law, correct?
Yes.
And you understand that lying under that oath could expose you to criminal perjury charges?
Yes.
Right. And you understand, just for the purposes of my questioning, that you're still under oath?
Yes.
Good. So, you mentioned this earlier this morning, but you met with Ms. Dowd yesterday for 2 hours, is that right?
Is that Rachel's last name? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Counsel here, right?
Her and her colleague for approximately 2 hours. I don't know the exact time.
Great. And her colleague was Mary Ellen, we've determined?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Have you had any other conversations with government attorneys relating to this lawsuit?
No.
Not at all?
Government attorneys? No.
Okay. Not with Ms. Dowd?
Besides the two yesterday? No.
Okay. And you hadn't met with them previously?
No.
Okay. Did you sign any type of engagement agreement with Ms. Dowd yesterday during your conversation?
No.
Okay. And is it your understanding that you're represented by Ms. Dowd today?
That is not my understanding.
Okay. When you talked with counsel yesterday, did they tell you how you should answer potential questions that you'd get from us today?
No.
They didn't advise you on proper answers to questions
No.
in any capacity?
No.
Okay. And when you met with counsel yesterday, did counsel give you any factual information about the NEH grant terminations that you didn't previously know?
That I didn't previously know. I don't believe so. Unless there were emails that I wasn't copied on that were part of the documents that your colleague showed today. No.
So you did see emails that you weren't copied on?
Yesterday I saw emails that I was not copied on between Justin and Mike McDonald, for example, that I was shown.
And you wouldn't have known that previously to meeting with counsel?
I would have known that Justin and Mike McDonald were having email correspondence, but the exact email I wasn't copied on, I didn't know that until yesterday.
Was there anything else you saw yesterday that you didn't know at the time of your employment with the government?
I don't believe so, no.
What gave you pause?
Just thinking, because I'm under oath.
Sure. What factual information did you discuss with counsel yesterday?
What factual information?
Objection. I would just caution you that our discussions about your employment by the government are privileged, so you should not get into the substance of such discussions.
Okay.
You can still answer.
I'm not going to get into the
So,
substance.
Outside of, so are you, is your position that there was nothing that you talked about yesterday that would have been factual information that wouldn't be covered by privilege?
Can you repeat your question?
Is there anything that you talked about yesterday that wouldn't be covered by the privilege that Ms. Dowd is invoking now?
I don't know.
Okay. Did you review, and you said you reviewed documents yesterday as well?
We did review documents, yes.
Okay. And did reviewing those documents help you to refresh your recollection about your time at the government?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. What documents did you review?
I don't think we need to get into the substance of the documents.
You just said that they helped you to review, refresh your recollection.
They were the same email correspondence and list of grants that we reviewed today.
Okay, great. So that's what you reviewed yesterday.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, not that I can recall.
Only what we've seen today and lists of grants, nothing else?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Do you understand NEH and the US DOGE service to be different agencies?
Do I understand NEH and the... Yes, I understand there are different agencies.
Okay. And what about the US DOGE service and the GSA?
Yes, I understand there are different agencies.
NEH and GSA.
Objection to form.
Are they also different agencies?
Yes.
Okay. So you referenced earlier someone named Justin Amenetti. Do you remember that conversation that you had with Mr. Robinson?
With Mr. Robinson?
The
Oh.
attorney sitting right there. Yeah.
Sorry. Yes.
Okay. And it's your understanding that he was an attorney, is that right?
That, he was an attorney?
That Mr. Amenetti was an attorney?
Yes.
Okay. And for what agency was he an attorney?
I believe he was employed by the Executive Office of the President, EOP.
And
But he could have been legally employed by GSA, I don't know. But my understanding was that he was affiliated with EOP. He had an EOP email address.
okay. And you were communicating with him on that email address?
When we communicated, it was through that email address, yes.
Okay. And are you familiar with someone named Ashley Boisel?
Yes.
Did you understand that she was an attorney as well?
Yes.
And do you know where she worked?
I believe the same EOP.
Okay. And did you communicate with her?
Not actively. I think we sent her an email, but she was not engaged at all with our team. So most of our correspondence in the legal context was with Justin Amenetti.
Okay. And you weren't employed by the EOP, right?
That's right.
Okay. Who are you employed by?
GSA.
Okay. And Justin Fox was also employed by GSA?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Kind of a broad question, but how do you feel about being here today? Are you... leave it at that.
How do I feel being here today? I'm not sure I have a great answer for you.
What do you feel like? Frustrated, happy, sad? mad?
Neutral.
Totally neutral. Okay.
Neutral.
Okay. Do you think being here is kind of a waste of time?
No.
No?
No, I don't think it's a waste of time.
Sure, yeah, that's great. So you did quite a bit of work at GSA and NEH in a pretty short amount of time. Reflecting on those months, so February, March, April, how do you feel about the work that you accomplished while there?
Objection to form.
At NEH specifically, or my entire time at
Let's
DOGE?
say at the NEH first.
I think it was comprehensive.
Yeah. Be proud of what you did.
Yes.
Proud of the work you did for the government.
Yes.
Okay. And generally at the GSA, are you proud of the work that you were doing?
We didn't do very much work at GSA, but yes.
Okay. Looking back at your time at the NEH, would you have done anything differently in hindsight?
I wasn't the primary lead at NEH, so probably not. No, I think it roughly came out to what, we ended pretty close to what our plan was with Mike and Adam, so no.
Okay. So I think we discussed earlier that roughly 1,500 grants were terminated under the purview of a combination of you, Justin, Mike, and Adam, right?
Objection.
It was, when you say under the purview, what do you mean
I
exactly?
guess I just mean like during your tenure, around 1,500 grants were canceled during that period.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. And each of those grants funded projects real projects by real people, kind of working on scholarly works. Some of those funds were used to pay for housing and to generally further their work. Now those funds are gone. Does that make you feel anything in particular?
Objection.
No.
Okay. You don't regret that people might have lost important income to
No.
support their lives?
Objection.
No.
No.
I think it was more important to reduce the federal deficit from $2 trillion to close to zero.
Right. Did you reduce the federal deficit?
No, we didn't.
You did.
No, I don't believe we did.
Okay. So you didn't reduce the deficit, right? But
Sorry?
You said you didn't reduce the deficit?
I think if you look at the net deficit from 2024 to 2025, I actually think it's close to a net zero, unfortunately.
Okay. So you weren't able to reduce the deficit, and you still don't regret that people lost some of their livelihood based on your actions?
Objection.
No.
Okay. What authority did you believe you were exercising in this work at the NEH?
I didn't think we had any authority other than to serve as effectively advisors to the heads of the agencies in which we were detailed. So our job was to be just that, advisors to the heads of the agencies and help them identify waste.
So, changing gears a little bit, you noted that you had no political experience before meeting with Mr. Davis early on. I think you said January 2025.
No political experience. How are you defining experience exactly?
I guess, did you have a role in government prior to that time?
No.
Not in state government,
No.
local government,
No.
federal?
No.
Were you in student government at all?
No.
Okay. No political campaigns?
I donated to the Obama campaign in 2012. Outside of that, no.
Awesome. But you said that you were generally, I think, informally interested in politics to some degree. Is that
Yes.
okay? What did you mean when you said that?
I'm sorry.
What did you mean when you said that?
When I said what?
That you were generally informally interested in politics?
It meant that it was important to me to keep a closely informed on what was happening in the United States from a policy perspective across the economy, foreign policy, social issues, etc.
How did you keep up with those things?
Reading books, reading the news, reading Twitter, X,
Cool.
watching the news,
How do you get your news?
mostly on X and Twitter.
Any people that you follow in particular that keep you abreast?
Many people that are following me. Not in particular. I have a pretty balanced political news diet.
You said you read the news. Like, what do you read in the news? What publications?
Objection. I'm just going to note that this is going very far afield from anything relevant to this case.
What do I read? I read MSNBC, CNN, Fox. I read long-form Substack articles, books, policy proposals, tweets. Pretty diverse diet of news sources.
Okay. So you noted a few times today that you were interested in joining government because you wanted to help to reduce the federal deficit, right?
Yes.
Okay. And we just talked about the fact that that actually didn't happen, right?
Not to the extent by which I and many others of the DOGE team had hoped for. That's right.
Okay. Were you also interested in joining because you were aligned on more substantive issues like DEI and gender ideology?
That wasn't the initial interest in joining, but ideologically I don't believe in those things. But that wasn't the primary reason for joining.
Okay. What do you mean you don't believe in those things?
I don't believe in making decisions in a governmental context or business context, frankly, based on DEI. I believe on making decisions based on merit.
Right. Sorry, when you say based on DEI, what is based on DEI?
Based on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Traits other than skill.
Right. So give me an example of something that's based on DEI.
Objection.
Let's see. If you make a hire in a position based on something other than a person's merit, I consider that to be effectively DEI.
Right. So anytime you don't consider merit in a decision about hiring, that's DEI?
Objection.
No, that's not the exhaustive
Okay.
standard that I have.
Okay. What's the exhaustive standard that
What is the in what context?
Any context, you can pick the context.
Objection.
Can you repeat your question? What is the exhaustive context by which
I'm just asking you to explain what you just said. You said that's not the exhaustive context, so tell me what the exhaustive context is.
of DEI?
Yes, like what is your understanding of DEI?
I just told you. My definition of DEI is making decisions on anything other than merit
Okay.
and skill.
And is that the exhaustive definition to you?
I think that's the simple, concise definition.
Okay. And so you were basing your selection of certain grants based on that conception of DEI?
We were making decisions on what grants to terminate based on the White House's executive orders, which referenced DEI and preferential treatment, among other things in those EOs, and also wasteful spending as was our admittedly subjective understanding of what could help reduce the deficit.
Okay, so let's focus on the DEI element for now, and then we'll get to wasteful spending in a minute. But you're testifying that you were basing the fact that you were looking for DEI on the EOs, but then you were applying your understanding of DEI as you were reviewing grants. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say, yes.
Okay. And so that conception of DEI that we were just talking about is the same DEI that you were using, the same conception that you were using as you looked at grants. Is that right?
That was one of the factors, yes.
Okay. So just hiring people without merit, without considering merit, that's DEI?
Objection.
Yeah. I don't understand your question, frankly.
I guess you're just saying hiring someone and not considering the merits, right, is DEI. That was the bounds of which you just defined.
That was not the bounds by which we canceled grants.
Okay. So how did you cancel grants?
Do you want to pull up a list of some examples of grants that were terminated, and I can show you the principle by which we canceled them on the basis of DEI? Many of them referenced explicitly DEI in the grant line and description.
Okay. And so I understand that, but let's say they didn't say DEI. How would you know that it was DEI? Because what I'm understanding is that your conception of DEI has something to do with hiring and not considering merits.
That's one example.
Hold on, objection. Can we try to have questions that are like a little bit more standard questions that don't have baked in various asides? I think it's getting a little confusing here.
I'm not sure what you mean, frankly, but...
Well, like the question that you had multiple pieces, some of which were you characterizing what he was allegedly saying, and it's just not an appropriate question. I think it's getting also confusing, but
Okay.
objection.
I'll do my best, but I think I can try to gather an understanding of what this is saying. Okay, so DEI, it sounds like to you, has something to do with hiring. Is that...
That's one component under which DEI can be applied.
And I'm asking you for the others. So what are the others?
In the context of the NEH grants,
Sure.
can you pull up some of the NEH grants? There were 1,500 of them. Presumably you can pull up one or two that were canceled.
I don't think we need to pull it up to get your understanding of DEI. So you played a role in determining what grants would be canceled based on DEI, right?
Yes.
Okay. And sitting here today, you can't give a definition of DEI without looking at the grants?
Objection.
Many of the grants that we canceled explicitly said DEI in the description.
Okay. So is that the only basis through which you canceled grants, if they said DEI in the
No,
description?
that's not the only basis.
Okay. So what other bases did you use?
As we discussed before, it was also could have been wasteful spending. It wasn't just on the basis of DEI.
So wasteful spending, or if DEI was explicitly noted in the grant description.
Those were two of the driving primary criteria, yes.
I think we looked at some grants earlier that didn't explicitly say DEI in the grant description.
Okay, maybe those fell in the wasteful spending bucket then.
So I want to go back to something you said earlier in testifying. You noted that during the process of terminating grants, quote, "It is well understood that you are required to read the actual grant description before requesting that it be terminated." Do you remember testifying to that?
Yeah, we would read the full description on the list of grants that were exported from the grant management system or in the USA spending data export.
Okay. And you said this was well understood. What did you base that on?
It was well understood by myself and my team, the small agencies team, and it was well understood among the DOGE team and culture that you couldn't just randomly recommend to an agency head to terminate a grant or contract unless you thoroughly understood what it said and had a basis for doing so, either based on an executive order or through the lens of wasteful spending.
Okay. When you talk about this culture, like, what exactly did you perceive that gave you that idea?
What did I perceive that gave me the idea that what?
That was part of the culture.
Because it was spoken about explicitly that you need to be precise in your cutting efforts. It wasn't a random exercise.
Okay. Who told you that?
Steve Davis made that very clear to the DOGE team that was the principle by which you should operate.
And he said explicitly you should read every grant before canceling?
Yes.
Objection.
Yeah,
You didn't
yes.
say grant. You didn't say you should read the grant.
Grant description, contract, etc. Yes.
Got it. And do you understand that each grant application at any age comes with an entire file beyond just the grant description?
I do. Yes.
Did Mr. Davis also tell you to read those?
He did not.
Okay. Did you read those?
I did not.
Okay. Why not?
Our judgment was that we could get a relatively thorough description of the grant purpose by reading the multi-sentence description that was listed in the export from their grant system and from USA spending.
Okay. So you thought it was proper to cancel grants based on one paragraph descriptions?
Objection.
If they referenced explicitly executive orders that were signed by the White House, such as explicitly stating DEI, yes.
Okay.
And to be clear, we weren't canceling them. The head of the agency approved the cancellations and then submitted terminations.
And then submitted.
Terminations.
I'm asking you if when you were marking grants for termination or marking them for recommendations to terminate, you thought that this one paragraph description was sufficient to mark those?
The amount of data that was on a single row about a grant was sufficient enough to make a judgment call for recommendation to the agency head.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I want to go back to something you said a bit earlier in reference to the agencies listed in EO 14238, which listed a number of agencies that were going to be kind of downsized and diminished to the statutory minimum, including like Federal Mediation Conciliation Service, etc. You referred to these as, quote, useless agencies. Do you remember that testimony from this morning?
Yes.
Objection.
Okay. What did you mean by useless?
Objection.
I believe this is privileged, actually, so I'm not going to answer this.
You can't actually create privilege for yourself, so.
Okay. I believe there was a naming that I didn't come up with internally at DOGE that described the agencies that were in that executive order as, quote, useless agencies.
Okay.
When the official executive order actually came out, I believe the title, I mean, if you have the EO in front of you, there was an official name for that executive order
Okay.
that said something about the commencing the reduction of the federal bureaucracy or something to that effect.
Right. Okay. So it was spoken about inside of DOGE or this term useless was used inside of DOGE prior to
By
the-
DOGE lawyers.
Okay. Prior to the,
Okay, I'm going to instruct you not to get further into what DOGE lawyers
Okay.
were saying.
sorry, which lawyers were these?
I don't know who created the draft of the executive order.
Okay, so this term useless came from lawyers, right?
I don't know who named it that.
Okay, you can't just actually claim privilege if you have no idea if the lawyers were involved with this conversation. I'm talking to you now, actually, so.
Okay, and that is inappropriate.
Right.
I can take a break with him and ask him to explain, what he knows about lawyers involved, but the things you were saying are inappropriate. He just said he thought lawyers were involved, and you're sort of suggesting that he's making something up, and I do not think that's appropriate, but why don't we go off the record so I can
Right,
discuss
but
this with him?
Before that, though, I'd like to finish the conversation.
No,
Conversation
because
with
we're
you,
not-
Not with him, with you. Okay, so
You
just
don't-
to keep it on the record, okay? He claimed privilege on his own, and then I responded that he can't do that, and he never actually invoked or referenced any attorney being involved in the conversation. Okay, so I
He
just
did,
wanted to let you know that.
actually.
Okay.
Actually, he did.
Okay, sure. We can go through.
Can you read it back where he referred to attorneys, please?
I have to look for it.
Okay, it's like the
I
prior
definitely
couple of
said this.
questions, he explicitly referred to attorneys.
Okay.
So if you're saying
I'm
that's
asking
not
for
true,
specific attorneys, but that's okay.
okay, so you agree he did refer to attorneys.
Okay.
Okay.
We can go for it.
No, we're gonna go through.
Sure.
The time is 3:12 and we're now off the record.